Alright, this is the 4.2 lesson. Your objective is that I will write equations in point slope form. So a few things that we need to do before we get started is we need to first figure out what is point slope form. This is one of the various forms that you can have for finding a line. This one we use whenever we have a single point and we know the slope. What point slope form looks like in general is y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. And if you're kind of a little bit more on top of it, you might look at that and be like, that actually might work out to be something kind of interesting. A slope, or our m, this is our rise over our run, or our delta x over our, delta y over delta x. Or we can also find this as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's look at number 1. Number 1 says, write an equation in point slope form of the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. And it gives us the point 3, 1 and a slope, an m, of 4. And so kind of like we do with point-intercept form, we name this x1, y1. And now it's just a matter of plugging everything in. So I go y minus y1, which is 1, equals my m, which is 4, then parentheses, x minus my x1, which is 3. And this can be considered completed. If you wanted to get y by itself, we'd simply add 1 to both sides, and so we'd get y equals 4, x minus 3 plus 1. You might want to take it farther if you're trying to get this into a slope-intercept form. You would actually distribute that 4, and you get y equals 4x minus 12 plus 1, and y equals 4x minus 11. Let's look at number 2, and we won't do all this extra stuff this next time. I'm just going to put extra, get 2 slope intercept. So if I'm given 2, 7, and I'm told m equals -3, whenever I plug this in, I'm going to get y minus, this is my x1, this is my y1, y minus 7 equals -3, and then parentheses, x minus 2. Okay. Number 3. If I'm given the point 4, -3, and m equals -5, I probably should write this out. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Okay, so I go y minus, this is x1, this is y1. So y minus -3 equals, my m is -5, x minus 4. And I'm gonna solve this just a little bit better so that it's a little closer to how I want it, just so it's a little nicer to work with in the future. So y plus 3 equals -5, x minus 4. Okay. Numbers 4 and 5 ask us to write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line shown. Alright, so this one's going to be a little more tricky. The reason why is the 2 points that they give us, and that's what I'm going to do first, is take out the 2 points, is 2, 2 and 4, -1. And if you're kind of getting this, you might right now recognize, wait a minute, there's no x-intercept here. How do we do this? And so we're going to go through this. So I'm going to name these x1, y1, x2, y2. It specifically says that we want it in y-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b. From there, the first thing I notice is that I need an m. I need my slope. And so the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. My y2 is negative 1 minus my y1, which is 2, all divided by my x2, which is 4, minus my x1, which is 2. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. So I get negative 3 over 2. That's my slope. So if I have y equals mx plus b, so y equals negative 3 over 2x plus b. And before we used to have we were kind of given the intercept, and we'd be able to just kind of plug that in. But in this case, we don't. So I'm going to leave this as b. And what we can do is we can utilize this in order to get what b is. And so we're going to use one of these ordered pairs. I'm going to use 2, 2. You could use 4, 1 if you wanted to. Makes really no difference. And so I'm going to plug in my values for x and for y. And so I have 2 equals negative 3 over 2, and instead of x, I'm going to write in 2 plus b. And now it's a matter of solving. The 2's cancel out, and I'm left with 2 equals negative 3 plus b. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. What I'm left with is 5 equals b. Still not done yet because I need to write out the actual equation. So y equals negative 3 over 2 x plus 5. Now, the reason that I show you this is you can actually work, and we kind of did it, I did it a little bit earlier, you can actually work this from the other side, from a y minus y1 equals m x minus x1, and you can actually wind up getting to the same answer. You figure out m the same way, and so my y, not equals, my y minus my y1, which I already have there, is 2, equals negative 3 over 2 x minus x1, which is 2. And now it's just a matter of getting y by itself. And so I'm just going to say y equals negative 2, or y minus 2 equals, and I'm going to distribute this, so negative 3 over 2x. The 2's cancel out. That makes this a plus 3. And then I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and so I get y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 5. That's kind of another way of doing it. Let's try it with number 5. Let's just try using that slope-intercept to get to point slope. Let's use point slope to get to slope-intercept. There we go. So starting off with, I'm going to pull out my 2 points that I'm given. So negative 3, 2, and 5, 0. And you might be like, ooh, wait, there's a 0, but that's in the y location, so this is called an x-intercept. So it's not quite what we're looking for. I'm going to use this y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. I see right now that I'm going to need to label these, so I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. I need to find my slope, which is m. So my slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is 0, y1 is 2, divided by x2 is 5, minus x1 is negative 3. So that gives me negative 2 over 8. Yeah, negative 2 over 8. That reduces down to negative 1 over 4. Now I kind of fill in all that other information I know, and then I know my slope. So y minus my y1 I decided was 2 equals negative 1 over 4 x minus x1, which is negative 3. So now I'm going to work my way through this. And so I have y minus 2 equals negative 1/4 x. That becomes a plus 3, and then times the negative 1/4 makes it negative 3 over 4. I add 2 to both sides. I know it's kind of scary adding 2 to a fraction, but what this winds up being is negative 1/4 x plus 1 1/4. You might have written this as 5/4, and that's fine too. All right. Well, let's look at number 6. Number 6 says, write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the given points. So we're kind of going to do a little bit like this, but we don't have to solve it down as far. So we're given 2 points. So we're given 6, 3 and 3, 10. And so the actually it wants it in slope-intercept form. I read that wrong. So it wants it in slope-intercept form, not point-slope form. You want it in slope-intercept. Okay. So same thing though. Given that I have 2 points, I could definitely write this in either way. It doesn't really matter. You can take either approach. I'm going to do y equals mx plus b. That way we just kind of see that that way again. I'm going to say this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. Slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is 10 minus y1 is 3 over x2 is 3 minus x1, which is 6. And so that equals 7 over 3 minus 6 is negative 3. And this is about as far as I want to take that. So I have y equals, instead of m, I have 7 over negative 7 over 3 x plus b. I get to choose, because I don't know what my b is, I get to choose which one I'm going to plug in. I'm going to use x2 and y2. The reason why is that x2 is 3, which I kind of notice is that 3 underneath. So I say, okay, instead of y, I'm going to write 10 equals negative 7 over 3 times 3 plus b. The 3's cancel out. So I'm left with 10 equals negative 7 plus b. Add 7 to both sides, so I get 17 equals b. Now I need to write it out in my final equation, so y equals negative 7 over 3x plus 17. Let's go to number 7. Number 7 says 5 comma negative 4, 15 comma 2. Let's do this in point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. First thing I need to figure out is my slope. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I kind of want this one, this big 15, to be my x2, so I'm going to call this x1, x2, or x1, y1, x2, y2. So I get not 15. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. Alright, so y2 is 2 minus y1 is negative 4 over x2, which is 15, minus my x2, which is or x1, which is 5. 2 minus negative 4, 2, that makes a positive 4, so 2 plus 4 is 6. Over 15 minus 5 is 10. This reduces down to 3 over 5, so that's my slope. So I have y minus y1, which is negative 4. Really, I could have chosen anyway, but I'm just going to kind of go with this. Equals my m, which I said is 3 over 5, x minus x1, which is 5. Now I can start to evaluate this. So this turns into y plus 4. And I'm going to distribute this 3 over 5, so 3 over 5x. 3 over 5 times negative 5. The 5's cancel out, so I get negative 3. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So I get y equals 3 over 5x minus 7. Alright, number 8. Write a linear function f with the given values in point slope form. Point slope form, again, is, well, we just did it, so y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Alright. So if we're given f of 1 equals 3 and f of 3 equals 4, so if we're given this, then we can take out a point, so 1 comma 3, 3 comma 4. And so I know that I need y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Okay, now that I know that, I need to figure out what my slope is. So that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I can name these however I want. I'm just going to call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So my y2 is 4 minus my y1, which is 3. My x2 is 3 minus my x1, which is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So it's 1/2. So I have y minus my y1 was 3 equals my m, which is 1/2, x minus my x1, which is 1. Close that. Now it specifically wants us to write this in a linear function, so it wants that f of x. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides, but it goes on the outside. It doesn't join in with anything else. So I'm left with this y equals 1/2 x minus 1 plus 3. And so I just change the y to f of x, and it looks exactly the same. Alright, we're going to do the same thing with number 9. So we have f of negative 3 equals 5, and f of 3 equals 5. Write this out as an ordered pair, so negative 3, 5, 3, 5, y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. I call this x1, y1, x2, y2. My m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. My y2 is 5 minus my y1, which is 5, over my x2, which is 3, minus my x1, which is negative 3. 5 minus 5 is 0. 3 minus negative 3 is positive 3, so that makes 6. Wait a minute. 0 over 6, that equals 0. Okay, let's just keep going though. Let's fill in some information. So y minus my y1, which I said was 5, equals my slope, which I just determined was 0, x minus my x1, which was negative 3. Now the 0 is times this entire parentheses, so it actually winds up disappearing. I'm going to add 5 to both sides, so I get y equals 5. And to write that as a linear function, I have f of x equals 5. Okay. All right. Number 10. Tell whether the data in the table can be modeled by a linear equation. Explain, if possible, write a linear equation that represents y as a function of x. Alrighty. So, what we're going to first do is we're going to say, is this linear? So, if I have x and if I have y, I go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Then my y is negative 2, 4, 7, 14, 22. Okay. So I'm going to start kind of going through this. How much am I changing each time? On my x's, I go up 2, I go up 2, up 2, up 2. Okay, now I'm going to check my y's. To go from negative 2 to 4 is plus 6. To go from 4 to 7 is plus 3. 7 to 14 is plus 7. 14 to 22 is plus 8. And looking at that, I am pretty confident in saying that this is not a linear equation. Not a linear equation. No pattern. Let's look at number 11. We have an XY table. We go negative 2, 0, 2, 4, 6. Go negative 3, 9, 3, 6, 9. I change by positive 2, by 2, by 2, by 2. Alright, to go from negative 3 to 9, we need 12 plus 12. 9 to 3, we need minus 6. 3 to 6, we need plus 3. 6 to 9, we need plus 6. Again, no pattern there. So, not a linear equation. There is no pattern. And then number 12. We have, you're renting a paddleboard. The company charges a $50 fee and $20 per half day. Part A asks us to write an equation that represents the total cost in dollars of renting a paddleboard as a function of the number of half days. Alright, so whenever I take this apart, I'm going to kind of break things apart. And so I say, okay, I got a $50 fee, and this is a one-time, probably like a registration fee or something like that. And then $20 per half day, so $20 half day. So it asks us to write an equation that represents the total cost in dollars of renting a paddleboard as a function of the number of half days. So what I can do is I can use this y, and then I'm going to use the slope, mx plus b. And so b is something that's constant, and so in this case it's going to be 50. X is something that we can change, that's our input, and so that we're going to change the number of days, so x, and our m is our slope, is kind of our change, so that's a 20, and that equals our y. Part B asks us to find the total cost of renting a paddleboard for 7 half days. So that was part A. Part B, we are simply plugging in 7 for x. So y equals 20x plus 50. So y equals 20. Instead of x, I'm going to put in 7 plus 50. There's actually dollar signs on all of these. I think about it. And so I go y equals 20 times 7 is $140 plus the $50 first time or registration fee. So y equals, maybe I should scroll down a little bit for that, $190. And that concludes lesson 4.2. Check with your teacher on your assignment.